What's up? This is Richie from the Where We Wild YouTube channel, and today I got my top 5 baits to catch winter bass from the shoreline, son. Let's get into it. All right, number 1, we got a blade bait. Now, this is a sneaky player here because when you think of a blade bait, you're probably thinking fishing on a boat, deep water, vertical fishing, but that's not the case, man. You can fish these things dirt shallow. My last trip out, I absolutely murdered on this blade bait right here. And yeah, I mean, I lost a bunch of them. You know, you're gonna get hung up for sure, but man, do they get bit in shallow water. I mean, I'm talking 5 to 10 feet probably is where I was really catching most of my fish last time out. And you can fish them a bunch of different ways. You can go with the yo-yo technique, basically just cast it out, let it drop down, up, take up your slack. Rod tip up, take up your slack. Rod tip up, take up your slack. Or you can just burn them, just straight out, cast it out and just burn them in. You can change up the cadence. You can, burn and pause, burn, 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 stop, burn, 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 stop, burn, 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 stop. Or you can combine both of those retrieves and really make it just kind of erratic and random, and that kind of drives fish crazy as well and definitely causes some reaction strikes. So this is a Damiki Vault. I will link all the baits, all my favorite sizes, colors, all the gear that I prefer to throw on them. Everything will be linked in the description below, so you can just go and check it out and grab a couple if you need them or whatever. But everything will be linked in the description. Now, I kind of take a little crap from my friends from this because you're gonna lose these baits a lot, but I like to upgrade the hooks. I like to go with an EWG style hook. I will link them in the description. They're kind of a short shank from Mustad, triple grip short shanks, KVD. Only lost 1 fish last trip on these hooks. It really stuck them good. They come with round bends, and round bends are really good for baits that they're slapping at. But I found that they're pretty much sneaking up behind these things, grabbing them on the drop, and they're just engulfing them whole. And for baits like that, I like an EWG style hook that has like the more bent in tip, and that really helps you keep a fish pinned. Now, as far as rods and reels go for a blade bait, me personally, I prefer to throw them on a moderate fast casting rod. And I will use probably either a 7 or an 8 gear ratio, and Shimano speak an HG or an XG reel. And that's because, I'm using the tip a lot, I'm burning it a lot, I'm trying to take up slack, stuff like that. And I prefer probably like a 7 to 7.4 type of medium heavy casting rod that plays kind of moderate fast. When you're firing treble baits out there, you always want a little bit of moderate, and help that rod load up and kind of absorb any shocks for those treble baits to get yanked out. If your rod is too stiff, you're probably gonna rip these hooks out of the fish's mouth. So you really wanna make sure that you can absorb that impact and you have something that really loads deep, gets a nice bend to the rod, and just kind of adds like a little bit of spring and forgiveness to everything. I'm also throwing these things on mono. That's another thing a lot of my friends don't agree with, and you might not either, but I am absolutely in love with throwing Berkley big game, 10 to 12 pound. It's got a lot of stretch. It's very, very strong. You gotta watch it in the rocks a little bit. It will get chipped up on you, and you're gonna have to retie every once in a while, but man, that line is so good for the money. It's not really a popular opinion to throw old school mono, but that's what I prefer, and I just have confidence in it. I like the way the stretch handles good sized fish, and it adds a little forgiveness here and there for trebles, and there's just a couple perks to it that I really enjoy. But you throw it on whatever line you want to throw it on, but I'm just telling you how I roll it out there. So number 1, little killer, got a blade bait, and this one right here is a 1/2 ounce, by the way. I'll link everything in the description for you, sizes, all that. Moving on, number 2, a jig. Classic winter bait. I like these little football jigs. I go 3/8 ounce. These are from Dobbins, I believe. They're very, very affordable, very, very good jigs. They come with like really pretty skirt colors. This one's just, you know, like a red and black. This one's got more of a, you know, cinnamony, orangey type of crawdad type of look. But these are great jigs. But any football jig will do. Football jigs, man, you're just basically casting out, let them drop all the way down, and you're just gonna slowly drag them in. When the fish are less lethargic and cold, you can, you know, do bigger hops and stuff like that. They're gonna have a lot more energy to like chase stuff down. But in the wintertime, I really like to slow it down and just like kind of slow drag over the rocks. You know, if you bump into one, you know, you can little tap over it, but just kind of keep bottom contact and just slowly drag it back. Super, super slow, man. And these jigs, you know, they just stick out. The skirt's pulsating, it's vibrating. It just kind of, not vibrating, but it just kind of pulsates and moves, and it just has a big profile and really gets a lot of attention from fish because it looks so good. Now, as far as trailers go for these, I keep it super simple. And as far as colors go with jigs, I'm super simple too. I mean, I know that the crawfish by me have like a black and red type of hue to it, so I have some black and red stuff, but a lot of times I'm going more, you know, green pumpkin, light brown, sandy type of looks. You can't ever go wrong with green pumpkin, but I just match my trailer up to them. And for the football jigs, I think some of my favorite trailers are Jig or Craw, Power Bait, Berkeley. I like to go with the 3-inch, you can go 4-inch if you want. Now what's interesting about these baits is like, they have a lot of action, all right? And in the wintertime, you don't really want too much action on your trailers. You want to kind of keep an eye on that. I mean, because the fish they're not as aggressive. So now these come with like this little piece of plastic here attached to keep the two claws together in the packaging. And then, you know, you usually would break those off, and then, you know, each claw is just free to swing, and they have a lot of action. But when I use these in the wintertime, I won't take that off. I will keep these attached, and it kind of takes out some of the action of it. So instead of it flopping really crazy, and you'll feel it too when you open this thing up and detach that, when you pull back, you'll feel it. You'll feel it flutter, especially you have like a sensitive rod. But you can just leave that attached, and that narrows it down a little bit. That takes out some of the action, and these things get bit. And plus they're scented. Berkeley Power Bait, it always does well for me in the past. These baits are really good. Jig or Craw, great trailer. Another one that I really love is the Hula Grub, Yamamoto, Gary Yamamoto Hula Grub. These are just green pumpkin, black flake. And these are sweet because, you know, I can take them out for you. They're really oily though. You can throw these on just a normal jig head because they basically, I'm not gonna take them completely out because they're just so covered in oil, but they basically have a skirt built on them already. I don't know if you can see that. And these things are so greasy, but maybe I'll take one out. See this, basically the double tail, but on the top there, it's basically got a skirt already for you. So you can throw these on just a normal jig head, set up like a Ned jig head, something like that. Here, I have a few of them here. Or you can just buy normal football jig heads in bulk and throw them on that. That's basically what I use right there. It's just a skirtless football jig. You know, got your weed guard, and you would just feed that through, and it's just gonna end up sitting like that. And so you basically have a little skirt right on there. So this is great, you know, just to throw on a naked football jig head. And I stress football jig because you're gonna get hung up regardless, but you get hung up less on a football jig. They come through rock a little bit better. I just prefer a football style jig head over any other style jig head. Even when I downsize, which is my next point here, is I like to downsize sometimes, and when the bite gets really tough, I'll downsize it and I'll go over to Z-Man and their TRD craws or their TRD bugs. And these are a much smaller presentation, and they get murdered. And so basically what I'll do here is, obviously you can throw them on a normal style Ned rig head. You know, we've all seen those, but what I like to do is they also sell these little football jigs, little football heads for Ned rigs. And then I'll just throw one of those little craws on there, or little bugs, and I'll fish it the exact same way, just a real slow drag back, you know, working over the rocks, super, super slow. Now, as far as rods and reels go for the jigs, for my big boy jigs, I prefer a little bit of a longer rod, 7.2 to 7.6, medium heavy, fast. You can kind of get away with, you know, more of a moderate fast, but I just prefer, you know, your basic fast for your jigs. And I like that longer rod because it just adds a little more sensitivity to the feel of it. You know, you can kind of spot some deflection more. It just, you know, loads up nice. I just really prefer it. And obviously you can just bomb cast with a longer rod. And for a reel, it's kind of the same deal as the blade bait. I'm going 7 ratio or 8 ratio because it's the same thing. I'm basically using the rod to do most of the work, taking up slack, dragging, taking up slack. So you can get away with the faster gear ratio. And then when it's time to set the hook, obviously, you can gain on them a lot faster and bang, instead of having the slower gear ratio, which is gonna take a few more turns to, you know, take up that slack and smack them. So yeah, man, that's pretty much it for the jigs. That is a murderer this time of year. Just slow dragging a jig, man. You match your hatch, whatever colors, but you can never go wrong with a green pumpkin. That just absolutely kills them this time of year. Kills them. What else? Number 3, we got a lipless crankbait right here, man. And these things are fished very similar to the blade bait. You know, you can go yo-yo technique, burn them, burn and stop, exactly the way you would throw a blade bait. Now, the difference here is the blade bait is more stealthy, okay? No noise. It's just all vibration, no noise. The lipless, obviously, super loud, all right? So it depends on where you're fishing, what the fish are into. If you're very pressured water, I will prefer the blade bait because it's silent and it'll sneak up on them. It's just the vibration, it'll surprise them and they'll attack it. If the water's not as pressured, I'll go with the lipless, cause that extra attention, that extra noise, have them hear it coming for a little while. But you know, a lot of times I will prefer throwing the silent baits. Same thing goes with normal crankbaits. I prefer the silent because I feel like it just sneaks up on them. When you're cranking through the water, they can hear this thing coming from a mile away. They might kind of be like, yeah, whatever. You know, that don't look too real to me. You know what I'm saying? But if it just sneaks up on them out of nowhere, you know, it might really cause a reaction strike. So as far as my favorite lipless cranks go, you can't really beat the Lucky Craft LV 500. They are a little pricey, but they are probably the best lipless crank on the market. Very heavy, great for that yo-yo technique. I do change out the hooks on them because I'm psycho. Lucky Craft does come with pretty darn good hooks, but I upgrade them, and I always upgrade my rings and my hooks on everything because I have serious problems. But I will link the exact sizes of this, but I usually, I believe, throw, it might be a size 4 up front and a 6 in the back. I'm not 100% sure. I have to check that out later. But I always upgrade, and I put a size 3 owner split ring on there. And this is the American Shad color. I don't know if you can see it with the lighting I got going on here right now. And this is more of a, like, you know, white and chartreuse type of shad. But these things absolutely murder. But they're pricey, man. They're very pricey. For a fraction of the cost, you can go old school Bill Lewis rattle trap. These things are much cheaper, running around $5, $6. They definitely get bit too. They're not as heavy. So for the yo-yo retrieve, you know, it takes a little longer to get them to drop down real fast as you're, you know, trying to really yo-yo that, let it drop down fast, back up, down fast, back up. The LV 500 weighs much more, so it's better for that technique. But these still get it done too, man. Old school rattle trap. And you know, they sound a little different too. It's the rattle trap. Ooh, I'm stuck. These hooks are no joke, my upgrades, boy. Super loud. These are loud too. It's crazy, man. I love that sound. Rattle trap, LV500. It's much heavier. The balls inside this LV500, you can tell, are just heavier, thicker. They're just different tones. So, you know, depending on what your fish want, there's a bunch of different options here, but that LV500 and the old school rattle trap are pretty much my cornerstones. The cotton cordell, the, what is that called? The Super Spot, cotton cordell, yeah. That's old school, man. Those are dirt cheap. You can find them in bins at Walmart for like $2 and they get bit, especially the red color ones are my favorite for sure. But, you know, depending on, you know, how much money you want to spend and stuff like that, both of those baits, all those baits work really well in the wintertime. And once it rolls over to the springtime, that bait still murders, but then that's when you bust out your red colors and start mimicking the crawfish more. So my current rod, my current favorite rod to throw these lipless cranks on is my St. Croix Mojo glass rod, cranking rod, and it's a 7.2 medium. And that gets it done, but I also will throw it on, not a glass rod, just a normal rod. I think I got a 6-scale rod. It's like an Aquilos or something, and that rod has been sneaky lately. I've been using it a lot, and it's been working really well. Plays more moderate fast, but it's not glass or anything. It just loads up really good. Another cheaper rod, I'm looking at like one of my rod racks over here, and I can see some of them. There's that Abu Garcia Vengeance. Very cheap rod. I have one of those that I bought just for fun because it was super on sale, and that thing would work great for a blade bait or a lipless. It's very moderate feeling, really loads really deep. I'll link all this stuff in the description, but as far as the reel goes, same deal, 7 or 8 gear ratio, the HG Shimano or the XG Shimano. You know, it's the same deal. Like I said, you can just yo-yo, take up your slack. You know, you can use that faster gear ratio and for just burning real fast, burn, stop, burn. You know, having that faster gear ratio helps as well. So, yep, number 3, lipless crank, definitely a murderer in the wintertime. Number 4, what do you think it is? Makes noise. Number 4, we got JerkBaits. Classic wintertime bait. You're just gonna cast these out. I'm stuck, man. I am stuck. These hooks are no joke, man. JerkBait, classic wintertime bait. Cast it out, let it drop down a little bit, suspend, pop, 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 or jerk, 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 and just stop. Just let it sit there. Just gonna dance, 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 stop. Let them check it out. What's that up there? And sometimes you can wait, man, up to a minute between your pops in the wintertime. I'm talking like super, super slow. Depending on how aggressive the fish are, you know, it could be jerk, 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 stop. A few seconds, jerk, 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 stop. But other times you're gonna bang, 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 and then just wait. 30 seconds, bang, 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 wait. And that's pretty much all you're doing. It's kind of slow and tedious, but these things get smashed in the wintertime. Obviously, the best jerkbaits you could possibly buy, in my opinion, are the Megabass Vision 110s. This is a normal 110. This is a 110 Junior. A little bit smaller of a profile. Awesome colors they come in. I'll link all my favorite colors in the description. They do make silent ones, but these... Well, I'm stuck. I can't even mess with these baits, man, without getting stuck. These hooks are so sticky. It is insanity. They're not the strongest hooks Megabass puts on these things, and they will bend out on you eventually, and I'll link some upgrades in the description for them as well, but they are sticky, sticky, sticky hooks, man. So, you know, have those balls in there, and they do make some noise, but you know, that is a great wintertime bait. For the rod and reel, oh, the other thing too is you can get the Vision 110 and the Vision 110 Junior +1, and that comes with a bit more of a lip, and it'll dive to a little bit deeper water for you. So, you know, we're talking about fishing from shore mostly, so a lot of times I'm not breaking out the +1, I'm just using the normal Vision because I don't really have access to super, super deep water. But if you do, you can bust out that bigger lip on the +1, and that's an awesome bait too, man. These are great. So as far as a rod and reel goes for my jerk baits, I throw it on a 6'8" medium, 6'8" to 6'10" medium casting rod with a 7 gear ratio. You like that shorter rod for a jerkbait because you're down and you're doing these, you know, small jerks, and you don't want a real long rod. It's just more awkward to fish that way when you're throwing a jerkbait or a topwater or a popper or something where you're really making those jerking actions with the rod. And also, you don't want your rod tip hitting the ground while you're doing that when you're off down to the side and you're just kind of, you know, using a jerkbait. So that shorter rod definitely helps out for that. And you can throw jerkbaits on a spinning rod all day too. I just prefer throwing them on the bait caster. I will link other kinds of jerkbaits as well. Lucky Craft has some good ones. A bunch of companies have some good ones, but the best of the best, by far, in my opinion, are the Megabass Vision 110s. Pricey though, man, pricey. The normal ones are $24.99, I believe, normal Vision 110s, and the juniors are $19.99, so they are pricey, boy. They are pricey, so no fun to lose those, that's for sure. Now, last but certainly not least, and this may come as a surprise to you as far as baits for wintertime goes, but I find this to be a sleeper. And not many people think about throwing them in the wintertime, and I think that is a mistake because I have caught some really nice fish in the wintertime on them, and that is just your old school spinnerbait right here, man. Now, you know, depending on water clarity, is it cloudy out, blah, 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 that will kind of help you decide what type of blades you want to go with, what type of colors you want to go with, but most of the time I'm just matching shad here. You know, whites, white and silver, flake. If it's a little muddy, I'll bust out a little chartreuse. My personal favorite is the willow blade on top and a Colorado behind it just to give it a little extra vibration, but double willows are pretty sweet too, and you can move those a little faster. I make my own. I have a video about it actually, because I'm very specific on what I like in a spinnerbait. So I like to put them together for myself. You can check that video out after this one if you want to see how you can make your own spinnerbaits. But man, last year was big for us. Jamie as well caught her PB in February on a spinnerbait. Now, as far as trailers go for the spinnerbaits, there's only one trailer that I use, and it's very simple, and it is a Strike King Rage Swimmer right there. The way these things come through the water, man, you know, you're getting vibration from whatever blade you're using, but you're getting a little extra from that kick of that paddle tail, and these things murder, man. This was a sneaky bait last year. Out of nowhere, we got on a spinnerbait bite, and it was awesome. Jamie caught her PB last year, 4.8 pounds on a spinnerbait. It was pretty much this exact style right here, I believe. White and chartreuse with that Rage Swimmer, and man, smashed it. And I caught some really good ones last winter on it as well, man. And you're just casting out, letting it drop down, and you're just slow rolling. Just really slow, really slow. Every once in a while, break the cadence and give like a bang bang, double crank. And you know, if something's following it and all of a sudden it, you know, it acts like it's going to take off, they have to make a decision and decide, do I have to pop this thing right now or am I going to lose it? So that'll cause a nice reaction strike. But the majority of the time, you're just casting out, let it drop, and just slow roll that bad boy in. Slow roll it in just fast enough where you can feel those blades spinning, feel the blades vibrating, feel that tail kicking. You know, pretty simple. But like I said, every 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, tap, tap. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, bap, bap. Just mix it up. It just kind of, I'm gonna take off on you. You better come get me. You know what I mean? It just causes that reaction bite, and it's pretty sweet. And the other thing that I really like about a spinnerbait is it is a big bite bait, all right? Usually, the majority of the time when you get bit on a full-size spinnerbait like this, it's gonna be a good fish. And every one that we've caught on it over the past year or two has been solid. Like I said, Jamie with her 4.8 pounder for her PB. I caught multiple 3s and change all last year. They were all big, fat, chunky fish that hit this thing. It's just a big bite bait. That's there's no way around it. So it's sneaky, man. I don't know if a lot of people fish a spinnerbait in the wintertime, but I do, and I'm telling you right now, if you're not, you're missing out because it just murders. Now, for a rod and reel combo for that, I'm using a heavy rod. I think my current one is 7.3 heavy. I believe it's a Dobbins rod. I'll link it in the description. Not expensive. I think it's a Dobbins Colt. And that rod is awesome for spinner baits. And I'm basically throwing it on either a 6 or a 7 gear ratio. Just because I like to slow it down a little bit. You want a little more torque. You want a little bit less speed just to kind of slow roll. Keep yourself from going too fast. I think a very big key to this technique in the wintertime especially is to just keep it slow. Just really slow roll. So I'll bust out that 6 gear ratio for this technique a lot, and it just helps me, you know, slow down. And that way I don't have to constantly remind myself to, you know, take it easy. You're kind of just gonna have to lock in for yourself. If you find out that you're getting hit on a faster retrieve, hey, bust out that faster retrieve. If you're getting hit on that real slow roll, you know, you have to adapt. Yeah, on all these baits, there's little micro adjustments that you have to make to really dial into your environment and what the fish that you're after are into at the moment. How long do I need to pause on my jerk bait between, you know, twitches? How slow do I have to slow roll the spinner bait? How fast do I have to burn the blade bait in the lipless? It's just little stuff like that that you need to dial in for yourself. But these baits across the board are my top 5, 100% for wintertime. You know, obviously you can break out some soft plastics, work them real slow, drop shot, Ica, stuff like that. You know, Yamatanuki, just super, super slow, soft plastic presentations. But all these baits right here get some really big bites in the wintertime. And now, as a little bit of a bonus section here, one more big idea, no pun intended, is a big swim bait this time of year. Huddleston Deluxe, glide baits, Bait Sanity glides, Depths 250s, your big boy swim baits. Now's the time, man. Winter, spring, that's it. That's when you're gonna bust out those really, really big baits. And around here where I'm from, they start stocking trout, and that really sets off that big bait bite. So I'll start mimicking the trout instead of the shad, and that's when I'm busting out that Huddleston Deluxe and my Bait Sanity Explorer and, you know, the Depths 250 and the Lunker Punker and all that stuff. I have a separate video on big swim baits that I posted not too long ago, a month or two ago. I think it's called the best big swim baits under $100. You can check that out as well after you watch this one, but that's a real grind. I mean, you know, it's not gonna produce numbers, but it may produce that absolute fish of a lifetime giant for you this time of year. And that's the other thing, you know, about fishing in the wintertime. You could catch that giant. Like, I mean, they're slow, they're not as aggressive, they're very lethargic, but they still have to eat. You know what I'm saying? You just got to dial into where you fish, what your fish are doing, what they want, how willing to chase they are. Do they need that football jig just dragged super, super, super slow? Can you burn a lipless? Can you burn a blade bait? Can you throw the jerk bait at them? Can you throw the spinner bait at them? You just kind of dial in. But those 5 baits, between those 5, you will get some bites this winter if you put some time into them. 100%, no doubt in my mind. Once again, I'll link all this stuff in the video description. My favorite baits, my favorite colors, my favorite sizes, hook upgrades, rod and reel combo ideas for each technique. Everything will be linked below in the description. Super easy for you to go and check out and pick up some of this stuff if you need to. And yeah, man, wintertime fishing, baby. Don't shy away from it. You can catch some really, really nice fish this time of year. 100%. And it's fun. Really fun. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to drop a like. And if you're into this sort of thing, don't forget to hit subscribe. We put a new video out every single week. Thanks so much for watching. See you next time. Later. If you want to see more videos just like this one, be sure to check out the rest of the Where We Wild YouTube channel, where we post a brand new video every week. And don't forget to subscribe and hit that bell icon so you get notified whenever we post a new adventure. Thanks for watching.
See ya.